Hey everyone, it's October 24th, and that means that if today's your birthday, you share with French murderess Madame Bessarabo, who murdered at least one man, though likely more, and that is her right up there. Born in France in 1868 as Marie-Louise Victorine Gruet, she went by many names, most of which are much harder pronounced than Bessarabo, so that's what I'll refer to her as in this video. As a child, she was educated in a convent and worked for her father's business, being sent to work for his operations in Mexico in 1892. She had repeated affairs with a string of lovers. One such lover was found dead at her feet, who she claimed had been shot to death by bandits in front of her. Because of views about what women were capable of at the time, no one questioned her story. Soon she met a Frenchman with whom she fell in love. He was twice her age and had made a fortune in the silk trade, with a thriving business in both Mexico and Europe. They married and moved back to Paris, having a daughter in 1904. Bessarabo wrote a romance novel under a pseudonym that saw moderate success, and soon she found little time for her family as she was hobnobbing with a literary circle where she shared stories and poems. She took many lovers and bullied her husband into accepting it as the way their relationship would be. Feeling that she would make an even bigger splash in Mexico, she asked her husband to return, but he refused. In 1914, Bessarabo prepared a bowl of soup and had their maid bring it to her husband. The maid, however, saw her slip a white powder into the tureen and told her husband about it. He refused to eat from the dish and instead had it analyzed by a chemist who found that it contained a lethal poison. Not wanting to undergo a scandal, he decided not to report the incident and hoped that his wife acted in temporary anger and would get over it. 2 months later, he lay dead from a gunshot wound to the temple, which was ruled a suicide. Bessarabo left for Mexico after selling off her husband's assets, living the life of a wealthy woman. She soon met and married Paul Bessarabo, and the two returned to Paris as a married couple in 1916. But she again had a string of lovers and began to indulge in heavy drug use, especially hashish. If her husband objected to her behavior in any way, she would fly into a violent rage, and in 1918 he awoke to her attempting to choke him to death in his sleep. Just as her previous husband had done, he chose to forgive her, and just as before, that turned out to be a terrible decision. In 1920, he walked in on Bessarabo preparing to spend time with one of her lovers, and the two got into a shouting match. She grabbed a pistol and shot at her husband, but missed. He declared that he couldn't live in the marriage anymore and was going to leave for good. 3 weeks later, she shot her husband dead and put his body in a trunk that she sent off in the mail. When he failed to report to work a few days later, the police were called, and Bessarabo insisted that he had left with a mistress, taking a large trunk with him. Soon the trunk was located and his body discovered, at which point Bessarabo confessed. Her daughter had heard the shots and helped her mother dispose of the body, so the two were put on trial together in 1921. The daughter came clean and testified against her, being set free as a result, while Bessarabo was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. She died behind bars 9 years later, never admitting to any additional murders, though it seems likely that she also killed her lover in Mexico and her first husband. If this is your birthday, hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so they can find out all about their birthday twin. And to Madame Bessarabo, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.